Hi there. It's November the 3rd, and we're continuing our journey through the prophecies of Ezekiel, in Hebrew Ezekiel. That means the Lord will strengthen, and we're reading chapter 7 to 9. In these chapters, the Lord shows Ezekiel more about why he's going to bring destruction on Jerusalem. We remember that he's giving these signs, he's giving these words to Jeremiah between the time of the exile of King Jehoiakim of Judah and during the reign of King Zedekiah. It's around the year 590, somewhere around there, and it's before the destruction of Jerusalem. And so the Lord says to Ezekiel at the beginning of chapter 7, an end is coming. He's going to make an end to everything because there's been a blossoming happening. It talks about the branch blossoming. The thing has come to fruition, as it were. And the thing that's come to fruition is all the violence and all the injustice, all of the terrible things which Judah has been doing and Israel has been doing to deny the fact that the Lord is their covenant God. And there's a judgment that's coming upon them. Business particularly will cease. Those who buy and sell will find that their buying and selling will not be possible anymore. Fear will come upon them. They won't be able to go out into battle. They will feel unable to fight. Their silver and gold will become worthless. The things that they valued, their precious stones, will become as nothing. The Lord actually calls Ezekiel to make a chain to symbolize the chains that are going to hold the nation, representing the judgment that's coming upon them. And they will know that the Lord is God. They've been ignoring the fact that God is the Lord. They've been busy worshipping other idols. They've been busy worshipping other non-gods, as we saw. But God says, I am going to make them know that I am the Lord. Then in chapter 8, we read that Ezekiel is sitting in the house, his house, with the elders of Israel who are in exile at this point. And then the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him. He is in an ecstatic state, and he sees a figure full of glory, full of fire. And this fiery figure takes him in the Spirit to Jerusalem and takes him to the temple. And here in the temple, in the very house of God, there is idolatry going on. There is an idol sitting right in where the people worship. And also, what's really awesome here is that the glory of God is also there. At this point, the glory of God is still there, but sitting alongside the glory of God are these idols as well. And then the Lord takes Ezekiel, this fiery man, takes Ezekiel to see a hole in the wall of the temple and invites Ezekiel to break through into the temple to see what's going on inside the temple courts. And there are several things he sees. First of all, he sees images on the wall of vermin and of reptiles and of terrible things, actually all things that are forbidden under the Torah laws, under the food laws, the kosher laws. Things that are unclean are actually being worshipped. This is the first terrible thing. Then he takes him further and he sees women crying out and wailing over the idol Tammuz. Now, Tammuz and Ishtar were part of a pagan fertility cult, which was very common in the Middle East, which was tied into the cycle of the year. And a particular time, around July, Tammuz was considered to die and then is raised again by Ishtar, and it symbolizes the turning of the year and the fertility, and all sorts of terrible things are linked with it, such as sexual practices and sacrifices, burning of incense, things which God is really unhappy about. And then, going further, he finds men who are, instead of facing the presence of the Lord, they're facing away from the Lord, and they're worshipping the sun. And maybe that's a suggestion of Israel trying to court the favor of Egypt, who worshipped the sun god. But God is going to act, and God is going to act in justice. He's going to push back the chaos of the idolatry that they're in. And so in chapter 9, there comes this picture of judgment, and God calls 6 angels, 6 beings who come, and they have instruments of destruction, but they also have pen and ink, and they go through first and they mark on the foreheads of those in Jerusalem who are mourning over this terrible idolatry that's going on, so that they will be saved from destruction. But then, rather like the angel of death passing through Egypt on the night of Passover, God sends out these destroyers to go through the city, and he begins to take out those who are involved in this idolatry. So much so that Ezekiel cries out to the Lord and says, Lord, you're going to totally destroy Jerusalem. How can this destruction be right? But God says this is going to happen. Those who are marked on the forehead will be spared, but this is happening because they've ignored me, because they've said that I am not the Lord. They've not taken seriously the fact that I am their God. It's incredible to think that a people who were so covenanted to their God, such a remarkable people in history, would have gone so far down the line of ignoring and rebelling against the one who had called them, the one who had brought them to himself in covenant and in love. We need to be constantly guarding our hearts and constantly questioning our ways to see whether anything is coming before the Lord, to see whether we are having any idols sitting alongside the wonderful presence of God in our lives, and to deal with them, because they cannot be there alongside God in our lives. Let's continually be checking that he is the number one, that he is the matchless, peerless God above everything else that we value. Have a very good November the 3rd.